I was at my desk finishing up some reports when I heard the familiar sound of heels clicking against the office floor. The rhythm was steady, confident Eva's. I didn't even need to look up to know it was her. She always carried herself with an air of authority, a presence that made people sit up straighter when she walked by. Still, I glanced up just in time to see her stop beside my workstation. "Leo," she said, her tone calm but firm. "Can you stay after work today? I need to have a serious conversation with you." A serious conversation. My stomach tensed slightly. She didn't sound angry, but the way she said it, so direct, so final, made my mind start racing. Of course, I answered quickly, not wanting to show any hesitation. "Is everything okay?" "We'll talk later," she said simply. And just like that, she turned and walked away, her heels clicking against the polished office floor as she disappeared into her office. I sat there for a few seconds processing. What the hell was that about? I had been working at this company for 2 years. I liked my job. I was ambitious, determined to move up, and I had never had any issues with my performance. If anything, I went above and beyond, stayed late when needed, took on extra tasks, worked hard to prove myself. So why would she need to have a serious conversation with me? Had I done something wrong? For the rest of the day, the thought nagged at me. I went through everything I had worked on in the past week, trying to pinpoint anything that might have been a problem. Did I miss a deadline? Say something out of line in a meeting? Was she about to fire me? No, that didn't make sense. If it was something serious, wouldn't HR be involved? The thing about Eva was that she wasn't like other bosses. She was strict, but fair, always professional. She kept her distance from the rest of us, never engaging in casual small talk, never revealing anything about her personal life. Some people were intimidated by her, but I respected her. She had built this company from the ground up, and she ran it with precision. She expected the best from everyone, and she didn't tolerate mediocrity. So why did she want to talk to me? By the time 6 p.m. rolled around, I was on edge. The office had mostly emptied out, the usual chatter replaced by the low hum of the AC. I took a deep breath, straightened my tie, and made my way to her office. The door was slightly ajar. I knocked twice, waiting for her response. "Come in," she said. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. Her office was exactly what I had expected: minimalist, modern, and organized down to the last detail. A sleek desk, a couple of chairs, a bookshelf lined with books on business strategy and leadership. No clutter? No personal decorations except for a single frame photo on her desk. From where I stood, I couldn't make out who was in it. She gestured to the chair across from her. "Sit." I obeyed, sitting straight, trying to look as composed as possible. She folded her hands in front of her, studying me for a moment before speaking. "You've been here for 2 years now," she said, "and I've noticed your work ethic. You're ambitious, focused. You put in the effort." I nodded, waiting for her to continue. "I want to check in with you," she went on. "How do you feel about your job, about the company?" I relaxed slightly. Maybe this wasn't a bad conversation after all. "I love it," I said. "Honestly, I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I definitely want to grow here, take on more responsibility." She nodded as if she had expected that answer. "And what about the people here? Do you get along with everyone?" "Yeah," I said without hesitation. "I mean, of course there are always challenges, but overall I think we have a great team." She studied me for a moment, then leaned back slightly. "Good." For a second I thought the conversation was over, but then she asked something that completely threw me off. "What about outside of work? Do you have a girlfriend?" I blinked, caught completely off guard. No," I said after a brief pause. "Not right now. I've been pretty focused on work." She nodded again, this time slower. Then just like that, she stood up, signaling that the meeting was over. "That's all for now," she said. "You can go." I hesitated. "That's it." "That's it," she confirmed. I got up and left her office, feeling more confused than when I had walked in. Why did she ask me about my personal life? Why did she sound so serious about it? And why did I get the strange feeling that this was only the beginning? It's funny how your mind can't let go of something. After that meeting with Ava, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I mean, I was a little thrown off. Sure, she was always so professional, so serious. And then out of nowhere, she asked about my personal life. It didn't make any sense. But as the days passed, I started pushing it aside. Work was still going on, projects were piling up, and life kept moving forward. I figured maybe it was just a routine check-in. Maybe she just wanted to see where my head was at. But then nearly 3 weeks later, something happened that I didn't see coming. It was late in the afternoon. The office was mostly quiet, and I was about to call it a day when I received an email notification. I opened it without thinking. Aaliyah, I'd like to meet you for dinner. There are some things I'd like to discuss. Please meet me at Lair, the restaurant on Oak Street, at 8:00 p.m. tonight. It's important. Eva. I stared at the email for a few moments, trying to process it. Dinner with Eva. This was completely unexpected. Lair wasn't exactly the kind of place I would have imagined for a work dinner. It was a cozy, quiet spot, more intimate than professional, the kind of place where you'd go on a date, not to have a serious work discussion. I ran my fingers through my hair, unsure of what to think. Why didn't she just call me into the office? Why make it so personal, and what the hell was so important that we couldn't talk about it during office hours? I hesitated for a minute, but then I realized something. She was my boss, and when the boss asks you to meet her, you don't say no. I quickly replied, confirming I'd be there. By 7:45 p.m., I found myself sitting at a table in Lair trying to appear calm, but my nerves were starting to get the best of me. The dim lighting, the soft jazz playing in the background, the smell of gourmet food, it all made the situation feel surreal. Why was I here? What did she want to talk about? At exactly 8:00 p.m., Eva walked in. She was dressed in a simple yet elegant black dress, her hair styled perfectly, but somehow she still looked like she belonged in the office. Despite the setting, she carried that air of authority with her. She gave me a quick smile and sat down across from me. For a second, it almost felt like we were in a business meeting. No small talk, no pleasantries, just straight to the point. "I'm glad you could make it," she said, her voice calm and controlled. But there was something different in the way she spoke. It wasn't the usual boss-to-employee tone. There was a slight softness to it, like she was speaking to someone she trusted. I nodded, still not entirely sure where this was going. "Of course. What's going on, Eva?" She looked at me for a moment, almost as if she was deciding whether to speak or not. Then she leaned forward slightly, her eyes meeting mine, with a look I hadn't seen before, something more personal, maybe even a little vulnerable. "I don't know if I've told you this before," she started, her voice quieter now, "but running this company can be isolating. People come and go, but it's hard to connect with anyone. I focus so much on the business, on the next step, that I often forget to take a step back. I don't have a lot of people I can talk to about anything real." I didn't know how to respond to that. Eva had always been so composed, so in control. I couldn't imagine her feeling lonely. But there she was, opening up about something I never expected to hear. She paused, taking a sip of her wine before continuing. "You remind me of someone. You remind me of me when I was younger. You're driven, ambitious. But there's something more to you, something I haven't seen in a long time." I felt my heart rate pick up a little. Was this some kind of compliment, or was I missing something? "I don't really know what you're saying," I admitted. Eva smiled a little, almost knowingly. "I just mean that I see something in you that makes me want to trust you to be open, and that's rare." I swallowed up, trying to figure out what she was getting at. I didn't want to assume anything. This wasn't like her. She was a professional always. She shifted in her seat, leaning back slightly. "You know, Leo, I've been thinking about how people come into your life and then disappear just like that. And it's hard to find someone who stays around long enough to really understand you, who isn't just interested in what you can do for them." I could feel the air between us shifting. This wasn't just a conversation about business anymore. It was something else. But what I didn't know what to say, so I just kept quiet, watching her closely. The woman who had been so distant, so unreachable, was suddenly sitting across from me, sharing something personal. But what did it mean? What was she trying to say? The atmosphere in the restaurant felt thick, heavier than it had been when I first walked in. Ava's words hung in the air between us, and I still wasn't entirely sure what she meant. What was this conversation really about? It didn't feel like business. It didn't feel like a usual boss-employee talk either. I shifted in my seat, unsure of how to respond. I couldn't just nod and smile like I would with a colleague. This felt different, more intimate, more personal. Eva, the woman who had always kept a professional distance, was now letting me in. She noticed my silence and gave a small, almost awkward smile. I know this might be a bit unexpected for you, Leo. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I need someone to talk to, someone who actually listens. The words she spoke didn't match the confident, professional woman I had known for the past 2 years. It was like I was hearing a side of her that had been buried, locked away, hidden behind the businesswoman persona. And there I was, sitting across from her, feeling like I was seeing something I shouldn't. I'm not sure what you expect me to say, I finally responded, trying to keep my voice steady. I mean, I get it. Running a company can be tough, lonely, whatever. But this is a little different, isn't it? Ava's eyes met mine, and for a brief second, I thought I saw a flicker of something. It was almost like she was relieved that I hadn't brushed her off, but then she quickly composed herself again, her usual cool demeanor taking over. Maybe it is, she said softly. Maybe it's because I haven't felt like this in a while. I'm always surrounded by people, employees, business partners, but I've never felt like anyone truly understands what I'm going through. Her tone wasn't sad, but there was a weight to it. It was as if she was confessing something she'd never admitted to anyone else before. And I couldn't help but wonder, why was she telling me this? Why me? I didn't know what to do with the information. It wasn't like I had any experience in this kind of situation. I wasn't the kind of guy who gave advice on personal problems, but Eva seemed genuine in a way. I could tell she wasn't just saying these things because she felt like it. There was real emotion in her voice and the way she was looking at me. I've been doing this job for so long. Leo, she continued, her voice quiet but firm. But there's only so much work can fill the void. People come and go. They want promotions, they want raises, they want status, and that's fine. But sometimes I wonder if anyone cares about who I really am, about me as a person. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I was just a guy, really a young guy, trying to make a name for myself in the company. But I could hear the vulnerability in her voice, and honestly, I wasn't sure what to say. I shifted in my chair, trying to gather my thoughts. I don't think I'm the best person to talk about this, I said slowly. I mean, I'm just getting started in my career, but I think I understand. Maybe it's not about people caring about who you are. Maybe it's about you caring about who you are, what you really want, not just what the job requires. She stared at me for a long moment, her eyes narrowing slightly, like she was trying to figure me out. And then for the first time during this conversation, Eva smiled. It was small, but it was there, a real smile. You're right, Leo, she said, her voice softening. You're a lot smarter than you give yourself credit for. I shifted uncomfortably in my seat. I wasn't used to receiving compliments from her. Ava was the type of boss who would give you feedback on your work. Constructive, always precise, but nothing that felt personal. There was an awkward silence that stretched for a moment before she leaned back in her chair. I don't know why I'm telling you all this, she said, her voice quieter now. Maybe because you're someone who still has that fire in his eyes, someone who hasn't been jaded by all the corporate nonsense. I swallowed, unsure of how to react. I'm just trying to do my job, I said, feeling a little embarrassed. She chuckled softly, shaking her head. I can see that, but Leo, you're different. I can tell you've got more than just ambition. You've got heart. I wasn't sure how to respond to that. There was something in the way she looked at me that felt intense, like she was searching for something in me. The conversation shifted again. Eva asked me more about my plans, what I wanted to do with my career, how I saw myself in the next few years. She even asked about my personal life, which was odd considering how private I'd always been. I wasn't really used to talking about myself like this, especially not to her. But I answered her questions as best as I could. By the time we finished our meals, I was left feeling a little off balance. It was like I had walked into this dinner expecting one thing and then left with a whole new set of emotions swirling inside me. I appreciate you talking to me tonight, Leo, Eva said as we got up to leave. It's rare to have someone who listens. I smiled, though I wasn't entirely sure how to feel. No problem, it was good talking. But as I walked out of the restaurant and into the night air, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. This wasn't just a casual work conversation anymore. It felt personal, too personal, and I had no idea what it meant. But I knew one thing for sure: things were about to get a lot more complicated. The days after that dinner were strange. Eva seemed distant at the office, almost like she was avoiding eye contact with me. I couldn't quite place it. Was it my imagination or was there a shift between us? Before she was always just the boss, the stern, no-nonsense leader who kept everything under control. But now after that dinner, things felt different, and I wasn't sure whether it was just me feeling awkward or if she was acting differently too. I tried not to dwell on it too much. I had work to do, deadlines to meet, and goals to achieve. It wasn't the time to overthink anything. But every time I saw her in the hallway or caught her gaze across the office, there was this strange tension. It wasn't bad per se, but it was unfamiliar. Then almost a week after that dinner, she called me into her office. It was late afternoon and the office was quieter than usual. People were wrapping up their work and heading home, but Eva's door was still closed. As I knocked and stepped inside, I noticed that the usual professionalism in her demeanor was missing. Instead, she looked a bit distracted. "Leo, come in," she said, her voice softer than usual. It was strange hearing her talk to me like that. She was always direct, businesslike, but today there was something warmer in her tone. "Hi, Eva," I said, walking in and sitting down across from her. Is everything okay?" She nodded slowly, almost like she was thinking about how to phrase what she was going to say. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just a lot on my mind, I guess. I've been thinking about our conversation last week." I immediately felt a rush of heat in my chest. "Oh yeah, me too." I tried to sound casual, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a typical follow-up. "I've been reflecting on it," she continued, leaning forward slightly, her eyes searching mine. "You said something about people caring about who I really am. I think you might be right. I've been so caught up in the work, in the business side of things, that I've forgotten to think about myself, what I really want." Her honesty caught me off guard. It was rare to hear her talk like this without any of the cold professionalism that she usually wore like armor. I swallowed, unsure of how to respond. "I didn't mean to make it sound like you're missing out on something. It's just, I know you work hard. Maybe you don't get the chance to relax." Or she cut me off with a soft chuckle. "I just think maybe I've been so focused on achieving things that I forgot to ask myself whether I'm happy with where I am." I nodded slowly, trying to absorb what she was saying. Evia was admitting something to me that I never expected. It felt like she was opening up in a way that no one at the company ever had. She looked at me, her eyes meeting mine in a way that made me feel like she was really seeing me beyond just the work I did. "You've been here for 2 years now, right?" she asked. "You've got ambition, Leo. You've got drive. I see it in you. And I think I'm seeing something else too." I raised an eyebrow, unsure of where this was going. Something else. Eva hesitated for a moment, then leaned back in her chair. "Yeah, I don't know how to say this without making it sound strange, but you remind me of someone I used to know, someone who had the same passion, the same fire. I guess, I guess I haven't felt that in a while." I felt a wave of unease wash over me. What was she saying? Was she talking about me in a way that went beyond just work? I tried to keep my face neutral, but inside my mind was racing. "I didn't mean to make things uncomfortable," she said quickly, seeming to realize how what she said might have sounded. "I just want to tell you that I appreciate what you bring to the team. You have something different. It's rare." Her words lingered in the air, and for a moment neither of us spoke. The quiet stretched out heavy with unspoken tension. Finally, she broke the silence. "Leo, I'm glad we had that conversation last week. It helped me see things more clearly. You've been a big help, not just in terms of your work, but just as a person. I don't want you to think that's all this is about. It's just, well, I think you get it. You understand what it's like to care about something more than just the job." I nodded, still unsure of how to process everything she had said. "Yeah, I get it. I think everyone needs to have something to care about outside of work, too." Eva smiled faintly, but there was something in the way she looked at me that sent a chill down my spine. It was almost like she was searching for something in me, something more than just a colleague, something more than just a guy who worked under her. "Anyway," she said, breaking the tension, "thanks for being here, Leo. I know this is a lot, but I think we'll be fine. You've got a lot of potential, and I'm looking forward to seeing where you go with it." I stood up to leave, still processing everything that had just happened. Eva's eyes followed me as I walked to the door. And for a split second, I wondered if she was about to say something more, something that would change everything on. But she didn't. "Good night, Leo," she said quietly. "Good night, Eva." As I left her office, I couldn't shake the feeling that things were changing. Things between us were shifting, and I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or a bad one. All I knew was that the lines between work and personal were blurring, and I had no idea where it would lead. The weeks following that dinner felt like a slow buildup to something neither of us wanted to fully confront. It was strange, like we were both playing this game of pretending nothing had changed, but everything had. I was still the same guy I'd been when I first started working here, still trying to prove myself. But now there was this new layer to my life, something I hadn't expected to happen. Eva was still my boss. That hadn't changed. But the relationship we'd started to build outside of work had only deepened. We'd agreed not to speak about it directly in the office, and we didn't. No one had any idea what was going on between us. But the moments we spent together after work, those times when we could be ourselves, when we didn't have to hide behind titles or expectations, it felt right. It felt like something real. And yet we both knew it couldn't continue on the same path forever. There was no denying that. One afternoon, a few weeks after that dinner, Eva called me into her office. I could tell by the tone in her voice that this wasn't going to be another casual meeting. There was something serious behind her words. Leo. She began, not even looking up from the papers on her desk. She sounded a little distant, and it made my stomach twist. We need to talk. I nodded, walking into her office, trying to gauge what was going on. This wasn't the usual catch-up or discussion about company matters. Something was different, and I could feel the tension building between us. When I sat down, she finally looked up, meeting my eyes. Her expression was unreadable, and for a second, I wondered if she was going to end things between us. The thought made my chest tighten. I didn't want that. We can't keep pretending that everything is the same, she said softly. We both know there's more between us now. But at work, it's important that we keep things strictly professional. I can't let our personal lives affect the company, and you shouldn't either. I nodded, swallowing hard. I had known that the time was coming when we'd need to make a choice. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how much I wanted to make this work. It wasn't just about a fling or something temporary. It was about us, about what we had. I agree, I said, my voice steady. But I don't want to lose what we have, Eva. I care about you, and I don't think that has to mean we stop seeing each other. She leaned back in her chair, her eyes narrowing slightly. I could see the wheels turning in her mind. She was calculating, weighing the risks, considering the consequences. And then slowly she spoke again, her tone softening. We don't have to stop seeing each other, she said quietly. But we'll have to keep it separate from work. I want to keep things professional here, Leo. But outside the office, we could be ourselves. We could be who we really are without any of these boundaries. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. It wasn't the easy solution, but it was the one that felt right. There was no denying that we were both happy when we were together, and I didn't want to give that up. Not for the world. I can live with that, I said, my voice full of certainty. I want us to be happy, Eva. And if that means keeping things separate when we're at work, then I'm okay with that. I don't need anyone to know. It's just between us. She smiled, then a soft, genuine smile that I hadn't seen from her in a long time. It made my heart race, and for a moment I allowed myself to feel what I had been holding back. We'll make it work, she said. I think this is the right choice for both of us. And just like that, we had decided, at work we would continue as boss and employee. There would be no indication of anything beyond that. But outside of the office, we would allow ourselves to be something more, to be a couple, without the pressure of our professional roles hanging over us. The rest of the day at the office went by as if nothing had changed. We were still the same at work, strict, professional, focused. But that night when I left the office, I felt a sense of calm, knowing that outside those walls I had something real with Eva. We spent our evenings together in quiet cafes at parks, or sometimes just walking around the city. No one knew. No one had to know. We had found a way to balance our professional lives with our personal lives, and it felt like the right decision. We were both happy, genuinely happy. In the end, that was all that mattered. Our secret, our love, was ours to hold on to. No one had to understand it except for us. And as we went to sleep each night, we knew that when the next day came, we would be back to being professional, just as we needed to be. But for now, in the quiet moments, we were more than just boss and employee. We were a couple, and we were content. Here's a question for you. If you were in Leo's position, would you have been willing to pursue a relationship with your boss, knowing the professional risks? Or would you have kept your distance to maintain a clear boundary between work and personal life?